4 grown men showed up at a woman's door while her husband was away. They did not expect what was waiting for them. Sarah had been dealing with her HOA for almost 2 years. It started small, a letter about her fence being 2 inches too tall. Then another letter about her flower pots being the wrong color. Then another about her welcome mat. Yes, her welcome mat. The HOA said it was not aesthetically aligned with community standards. That is a real thing they put in writing. Most people would have folded by now, paid the fines, changed the mat, moved on. But Sarah was not most people. And the 2 dogs sitting beside her every single day were not most dogs either. Brutus and Delta were retired military working dogs. Brutus had served 2 tours overseas with the U.S. Army. Delta had worked with a law enforcement K-9 unit for 6 years before a leg injury ended her service. Both dogs had been trained to detect threats, hold their ground, and protect. And when Sarah adopted them after her husband, an active duty soldier, got deployed overseas, those dogs did not forget a single thing they were trained to do. Now here is where things get interesting. The HOA in Sarah's neighborhood was run by one woman. We will call her Karen because honestly, that is what everyone in the neighborhood called her too. Karen had a thing about control. She had been the HOA president for 7 years. In that time, she had fined over 60 households, taken 3 families to small claims court, and reportedly got 1 elderly couple's car towed from their own driveway because it had an expired sticker. When Sarah moved into the neighborhood, Karen saw an easy target. Young wife, husband deployed, no family nearby. Karen started sending letters the very first month. Property value concerns, she said. Community guidelines, she said. But the letters kept coming even when Sarah fixed every single thing they complained about. The fence got lowered. The flower pots got changed. The welcome mat got replaced. And still, more letters. Then Karen escalated. She hired someone to fly a drone over Sarah's backyard, took photos, sent a formal notice claiming Sarah had an unauthorized structure in the yard. That structure was a dog kennel. A basic wooden dog kennel that Sarah had built for Brutus and Delta. Karen said it violated community codes. Sarah looked up every single code in their HOA agreement. Nothing about dog kennels. She wrote back, cited the exact page numbers, and told Karen there was no violation. Karen did not like that. 2 weeks later, 2 men showed up at Sarah's door claiming to be municipal compliance officers. They had clipboards. They had lanyards. They looked official. They told Sarah her dogs needed to be removed from the property because they were a liability under some city ordinance. Sarah asked to see the ordinance number. They fumbled. She asked for their badge numbers. More fumbling. She asked for their supervisor's contact. They left. She did some digging. Those men were not compliance officers. They had no city credentials. They were hired by Karen to intimidate her into compliance. Sarah filed a report. Nothing happened. So Karen sent 4 men. Real ones this time. It was a Tuesday afternoon. Sarah was in the backyard with Brutus and Delta when she heard the knock. She walked to the front door and opened it. 4 large men were standing on her porch. One of them had a folder of papers. He told her she was in violation of multiple HOA codes and that she needed to vacate the property for an inspection. He used that word on vacate, like she needed to leave her own home so strangers could walk through it. Sarah did not move. She stepped to the side and let Brutus and Delta come to the front. Both dogs sat down immediately beside her. No barking, no growling, just sitting, perfectly still. Eyes locked on the 4 men. Military working dogs are trained to do that. It is called a passive alert. They are not attacking. They are not threatening. They are simply communicating, clearly and calmly, that they see you. They are ready and they will not be moved. The 4 men stopped talking. One of them stepped back, then another. The man with the folder looked at the dogs, then at Sarah, then back at the dogs. Brutus outweighed him in pure muscle, and had been trained to detain human targets on command. Delta, even with her old leg injury, had a bite force strong enough to stop a grown man in his tracks. Neither dog moved an inch. They just watched. Sarah told the men she had already reviewed every HOA guideline. She was not in violation of anything. She told them she had documentation of every letter, every interaction, every fake compliance officer visit, and the drone footage incident. She told them calmly that if they wanted to proceed, she had a lawyer who would love to hear from them. They left without saying another word. That same evening, Sarah posted a video of the interaction on social media. She had a doorbell camera and a security camera on her porch. The whole thing was on tape. 4 men, 2 calm dogs, 1 woman who did not flinch. The video spread fast. Within 48 hours, it had been viewed over 2 million times. Local news picked it up. Then national news. People were not just watching because of the intimidation attempt. They were watching because of Brutus and Delta. Comments flooded in from veterans, military families, canine handlers. One retired Army dog handler wrote, "That passive alert from those dogs says everything. They were not aggressive. They were professional, just like the woman standing beside them. The HOA board held an emergency meeting 4 days later. Karen resigned as president. The fines against Sarah were dropped. The HOA issued a formal apology letter, and 3 other families in the neighborhood who had been harassed for months came forward with their own complaints after seeing Sarah's story go public. Here is what most people miss about this whole story. Sarah did not win because she got lucky. She won because she was prepared. She documented everything from day one. Every letter, every response, every date and time. She knew her rights. She looked up every single code they cited. And when things got serious, she had evidence that could not be argued with. Research consistently shows that people who document workplace or neighborhood disputes in writing, dates, details, copies, are significantly more likely to win when those disputes escalate legally. Most bullies count on you not doing that. They count on you being too tired or too scared to keep records. Sarah kept records. And Brutus and Delta, those 2 dogs, did not just protect her physically. They gave her confidence. Studies on human-animal bonds show that people with dogs, especially trained working dogs, report significantly lower levels of anxiety and higher feelings of personal safety. For a woman alone in a house, dealing with months of harassment while her husband served overseas, those dogs were not just pets. They were partners. Karen had spent 7 years using fear to control a neighborhood. She found 4 men who she thought would finish the job. What she did not count on was a woman who had already been through harder things, who had watched her husband deploy, who had rebuilt her life around 2 dogs that the military had retired but not broken, and who was not going to be moved from her own front porch by anyone. Brutus and Delta just sat there, calm, steady, ready. And that said more than any lawyer ever could. Watch the next video on the screen right now. You are going to want to see this one.